Hi, my name is Debrena McKay. I'm from Nipawin, Saskatchewan. I'm originally from Red Earth Cree Nation. I lived here most of my life. Since I was 3 years old, I was raised by my auntie and uncle Clarence and Belma Whitehead. Um, Throughout my life, like as a little girl, I remember my mom and dad, going to church on Christmas Eve or like Easter. And I remember just standing right beside them and I'd look up to them and they'd be watching or singing. And so throughout my life, like I was around church. Like I grew up around the church, but I didn't like know exactly who Jesus was until it was like 2014 when I was like an alcoholic. I was really out of control. Drinking had taken over like everything around my life. Like it was affecting my relationships. And so I decided to take me and my kids to Regina, where there was a 1 year addictions program. And if I finished that year, I would get a $5,000 scholarship. But as I was staying there, I didn't know who Jesus was. I didn't know what he could do for me. Like, who was this guy, like but I didn't know. I didn't know that he could help me in those ways. I didn't know. Unfortunately, I didn't stay for the whole year. I left after 6 months. And then I continued on with drinking. I continued on hurting my family. I continued on hurting myself. And the pain just grew. The pain and the way I felt and the way I treated other people, that grew. And eventually drugs. And my kids were going in and out of foster care. And that really hurt me. Because I thought I could control, everything around me. I thought I could be in control, but I wasn't. I was just out of control. And I felt like I was just making it even worse, and I was getting more angrier inside. And I was getting angry at other people, blaming them for my mistakes, for my choices. It wasn't until my late brother had passed away where I felt like I needed to change. I felt like I put my needs, my wants before anybody else's. And after it passed away, I felt guilty and I felt ashamed. I felt like it was my fault, I felt like the reason why, maybe he could have, but all these things. And then I just reached out to God. I said, God, I said, I'm tired of living this life. I'm tired of hurting other people. I'm tired of hurting myself. I remember I was just crying in Saskatoon when I was all by myself, when my kids had been taken away. Thought to myself, I failed again. I made all the wrong choices again. I cried. I just asked God. I said, God, help me. And then, even though I was still struggling with drugs, even though I was still struggling with alcohol, I felt like he spoke to me. He gave me answers. He showed me life not only about mine, but he showed me life about my parents. He showed me life about the addictions that they struggled, the pain that they went through, how hard it must have been for them. And growing up in an environment they probably didn't even know about. So it kind of gave me compassion and forgiveness for my parents who grew me up and for my mom, because it wasn't their fault. So it wasn't my fault either. It wasn't my fault. I didn't know any better. And God was teaching me that. God was giving me the truth. He was shedding light on all the lies, everything that was planted in my head, everything that I felt in my heart. He was releasing that. He was showing me, giving me guidance. And I prayed every day. I prayed and I said, God, I don't want to do this anymore. So I moved back to Nipwood. I had no choice. I had no choice but to move back. I didn't feel safe in Saskatoon. Felt like I had nothing out there after when my brother had passed away. I knew I wanted to get my kids back. I knew I had to try for the last time. And even though I felt like crap, even though I felt like I didn't want to be around people, even though I felt like just the most crappiest person, I knew that I didn't want to quit. I knew I wasn't going to give up. So as these past few years had come, I felt like I've had a spiritual awakening. I started, coming to church more often. Eventually, the drugs, the people that I hung around with, people that I stopped doing that. I stopped going to the things that hurt me, the things that that I was so escaped to or whatever. And then eventually, I noticed myself starting to get better. I noticed that, I was feeling better inside. So I don't know. I just feel like God has really changed a lot about me from the inside. What I think about baptism, honestly, I feel like it's just like you're with Jesus, basically. You understand what he's been through, how he's he could save us from our sins. That he loves us no matter what. So I don't know, I feel like since I've I want to be baptized. I want to be baptized. I want to have that relationship closer. I feel like I'm being directed towards that. And I just want to be able to to show not only myself but for my kids and for the people who've seen me struggle, who've seen the other side of me and how much I've changed, over the years,